Hey guys, and welcome back to Jalina Plays. We're going to be playing part 4 of Seduce Me of James's route. So, let's get right into it. I went to bed that night feeling nervous. Despite the words of the incubi, I felt like a target or something. I felt like a target to something I'd never be able to explain or prove. Magic? Devils? Demons? How did this all even happen? Should I really meddle with the situation? They were only staying until after the defeat Malix. That's right. They said they'd only stay until after they defeated Malix. After that, my life could go back to normal. Temporary insanity, as Kay would say. The question was then, would I want them to leave? If my life went back to normal, then I'd have to care for the house all on my own. I'd get to focus on my life instead of being distracted by the boys. I'd have to. My life. Where was my life going, anyway? I was under pressure from my parents, with only my friends and the boys to comfort me. Without the boys, I'd have no way to hide from my responsibilities. Enough. Let's just sleep and deal with tomorrow when it comes. Defeating my sense of thought, I forced myself to sleep, unsure of what tomorrow had planned for me. Hopefully, whatever the future had for me, I would be ready for it.
I promise to be with you forever. You're so important to me.
I swear I'll give my life to you.
Please, let me love you.
I'll be by your side, always.
I can't imagine living without you.
I want to be with you.
I love you.
I slowly opened my eyes, letting the voice of the dream echo in my head. Sorry, I just died for a second. I slowly opened my eyes, letting the voices of my dream echo in my head and force me awake. I rubbed my eyes before sitting up and looking at my clock. 7 a.m.? Why am I up so early? I fell back onto the bed and closed my eyes, trying to go back to sleep. However, something kept me awake. Why? It's too early to even be alive. I agree with you on that. I don't wake up till really super late. I gave up and sat up, staring at the fireplace from my bed. I saw it escape from between my lips before I threw my legs over the side of the bed. What to do at 7 a.m. in the morning? Kinda. I ain't doing homework. I'm a coffee person. Let's go make some coffee. I decided making coffee was my best bet in surviving for the rest of the day. Why not? Haven't had coffee in forever. I get out of bed and made my way to the kitchen. Unconcerned that I was in pajama pants and a tank top, I rummaged through the cabinets for a coffee machine and any makings for coffee. Surely my grandfather had some. Can I just say, this kitchen looks like something straight up from IKEA, and I love it. A fresh press? Well, it's better than nothing. French press. As I began to make my coffee, I checked my emails and texts on my phone. No new important emails. No text messages. I sighed. I quickly made my coffee just how I liked it and sat on the corner. But then I began to wonder, would this happen every day? I let the question linger in my mind. For a whole morning, I did not think once about the boys or Malix. Everything was peaceful. Everything was average. Nothing magical or dangerous or unusual. I simply drank my coffee as I let the thought marinate in the back of my mind. I returned to bed feeling the weight of the morning drag me under my covers to try to sleep again. I had energy, but I wanted more sleep. It was Sunday and nothing was happening today. Come on, eyes, back to sleep. I shut my eyes and tried to slow my breathing. I looked at my phone to check the time once again. It was noon, yet it felt like I had slept for much longer. Why is time going so slow? I sighed, got changed in normal clothes, and went out to the main hall and sat on the stairs. Sundays were very boring. However, the muffled sound of battle caught my attention. Huh? I quickly went out in the backyard in response to the noise I had heard. In the yard were all 5 boys practicing fighting. Sam was in the middle with other 4 surrounding him and throwing punches and kicks at him. Sam began the strongest of the bunch, blocked and dodged each almost masterfully. I'm not going to disturb them. They're kind of doing stuff. I just watched. The boys were very much in their own world, focusing on them training they are all in. It was better not to disturb them. I checked the time and decided to head inside of the kitchen. I was getting hungry and I'm not sure the boys would need to eat soon, so lunch was a must. Might as well make lunch today. It's been a while since I cooked. Lunch wasn't particularly hard. I decided to make... No, I think cold cut sandwiches would be good. Because why not? I assembled simple ham sandwiches for all of us. As I poured some mashed potatoes and chips on the side of the sandwich, I felt satisfied. Who said lunch had to be cooked? I placed the food in the dining room. However, none of the boys were there. By the time I brought the final dish out, I carried the dish to the main lobby, catching the boys separating into different rooms of the house. Part of me wanted to go into one in particular. The other part of me wanted to just leave them be and take the food in my hand to the room and eat. Maybe I could go out today while the boys focus on training. I want to find James. I quickly rushed back and grabbed a second food dish before hunting down one of the boys. James! Yes! My boy! I was so excited. I found James in the library, sitting in one of the comfy leather seats reading a book. As I stepped in, James looked up at me before closing the book and standing.
Oh, hello.
Hi! Hey, James. I got some lunch for you.
That is very kind of you. Thank you.
James took his food and sat back down, placing the book he was reading on the table in front of him and setting the dish on his lap.
I'm sorry. I should have asked you first before exploring the house and finding this room.
I'm gonna read him. Huh? Oh, no, you're fine. Remember, you live here too, so any room besides mine is free to be in.
Still, you're the master of the house. I should have asked.
It's fine, really. James nodded at me with an understanding smile before eating his food. I followed along and ate with him, taking the open chair beside his. We ate in silence, listening to the ambience in the room. Soon, however, I began to feel a little restless. I'm going to check out the book. I put my food down on the table and looked at the book to examine it. Love and Romance? A Study of Intimacy? Oh, James! You like rom-coms! This is great! James let out a small, nervous cough before he stopped eating and placed his food on the table.
Demons and humans are very different when it comes to affairs of the heart. I merely wanted to try learning a little more while I had the chance. I found that while I was looking around the room and had only just begun reading.
Love is different to demons? How so? James smiled before crossing his legs, getting comfy for the small lecture he was about to give.
Love isn't just a human emotion, miss. Demons like us feel them too. In fact, incubi and succubi feel emotions the most because of our link to sexual energy. However, we don't really experience love. We know of lust and passion.
But passion drives love.
For humans, yes. For demons, it fuels our need to breed and increase the strength of our lineage as well as quells the hunger we have for sexual energy. It's very hard for us to develop feelings from passion, despite how easy it may logically seem.
Your hunger for energy? I could tell I struck a nerve with James. As I mentioned the word hunger, his arm twitched, obviously wanting to do something other than remain on the armrest of his chair. He continued speaking regardless.
Sexual energy is our natural food source and is one of two ways to keep us alive. In the abyssal planes, there are many demons to feed off of who are always willing to give their energy up, so sexual hunger is never an issue. In the human world, however, we've come to realize that getting energy is a little more difficult.
Can't you just touch a human for their energy like you all did with me?
That only gives us so much. A touch is merely a taste, while intimate sex is a banquet for us.
I guess that was true. Humans weren't all about sex and were probably a lot more conservative than demons, at least. It would be hard to gain sexual energy from a human without doing something to them or catching them in their right mood.
This is why we have a mind-altering ability to convince humans to give in to their desires. It's not 100% effective, but it gives us a better possibility to get what we need.
What if you don't feed on sexual energy? What's the other way to stay alive?
Food, typically. However, we're weak without actual sexual energy. Without sexual energy, we become less than human. We have no power nor moral consciousness. We basically start to become unfriendly.
Ooh. I'm gonna go full smut. Full smut! James didn't reply. He simply stared at me, unable to answer. However, I could tell that he was. He was clenching the armrest tightly, digging his fingers into the leather. I gently leaned close to him from my chair and reached to brush my fingers over his hand. If you really need energy, I'll help a little. No sex, but enough to stop the hunger, okay? Once again, I was greeted with a silence from James. He seemed very nervous and uncertain about what to do, now that the approval was there. He was also frozen from my touch, softly and barely twitching at the feel of my skin against his. I could feel his hand grip the armrest harder. A small feeling of boldness then ran through my body, forcing me to cover his hand completely with my own, leaning nose to nose with James in seriousness. Alter my mind if you're concerned about me. I really do want to help you out. Oh no! Full smut, baby! Here we come! All of a sudden, I felt something in my mind snap and ooze into the warm, fluffy feeling I felt before with Sam and Eric. I felt my body slightly heat up as Sam released the armrest and gently took my wrist. He gently pulled me out of my chair and onto his lap. Having me straddle him with my thighs, he started deep into my eyes. His own glowing in hunger that I never would have expected to see from him.
I won't go overboard.
Ow! Hey, baby boy! Give me all the smut! Before I knew it, his lips were pressed hard against mine. My head being pulled by his hand on the back of his neck. Blah, 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 blah. I can't speak. This is what smut does to somebody. My head began being pulled to his by his hand on the back of my neck. I gently moved my hands to his shoulders and chest, melting in his lap and enjoying every feeling that ran through my body. It felt hot, despite and in every need for more than just his kiss. One of my hands slipped up his neck into his hair as James lowered his kisses to my neck, gently groaning against my skin. I couldn't help but let out a small whimper of pleasure before reaching up and covering my mouth. I didn't want the others to hear me. I was positive neither did James. James lowered his free hand to my lower back, pulling my body against his. I felt my energy slowly draining, causing me to cuddle closer to James's hold on me. He lowered his hand in my waist, squeezing it tightly as his tongue ravished my neck. Jesus Christ. His hand that was on the back of my neck, however, gently came around and held onto the tail of my bow. I sucked in a breath, but James didn't pull it, untie the bow. James lifted his lips from my neck and gently leaned his forehead to mine, rubbing nose to nose with me. He was gently breathing fast, slowly red in the face, and as deep into the moment as I was.
I won't go any further if you don't want me to.
I could feel the hold of his mind-altering spell fade away, but I still felt hot. Something told me that I wanted more, but at the same time, I wasn't sure if I truly did want to give in anymore. Full smut, baby! We're going all in! I opened the opportunity and I was enjoying it as much as he was. Woo! Woo! I wanted more! Oh my god. I was going to let him keep going. He promised not to go far, but this wasn't far enough for me. I gently leaned in and kissed him, giving him silent approval to keep going. I could feel him pull on the tail of my bow, the tail of my bow, releasing it and letting it follow his hand off around my neck. He removed the ribbon to the empty seat before gently unbuttoning the top half of my blouse, going no lower than above my stomach. The desire in my body drove me to move the sleeves of my shirt down to my arms, escaping from it and letting the shirt hang around my belly. As I began to ravish my neck and shoulder in hot kisses, I leaned my head back and let the pleasureful sigh escape my lips. The pull in my body from him, draining my energy, had slowed immensely, almost completely stopping. However, James kept touching and kissing me regardless. He was full, but he was as hot as I was and kept loving on my skin and on me. I couldn't even comprehend how much time we spent making out. I was so lost in the pleasure that I didn't care. Call it simple, but I don't care. I didn't care. I loved it. His touch, his kiss, his heat. I desired it beyond anything at that moment, even as he lowered his kisses down to my chest to just above my bra. My heart was beating wildly in my chest. Something about James drew me to him like a moth to a flame. I didn't know if it was his aura of superiority or his gentle smile, but something made my heart quicken for him. I couldn't have been love, but it was too passionate to be lust. What was it? However, I began to feel dizzy, seeing the ceiling start to spin almost wildly. I gripped onto James' shoulder, trying to signal him to stop, but my mind faded to black before I could let out another sound. I felt good. I didn't care that I was blacked out. I felt warm and fuzzy in the darkness. I never knew indulging in that kind of passion would be that good. I now just waited to awaken, hopefully in a good way. My eyes eventually fluttered open, adjust to the sight around me. I felt similar silhouettes underneath me, letting me know that I was in my bed. I slowly sat up, stretching from the tiredness that still lingered. I felt a very soft pain on my neck and shoulders. I could feel my swollen lips pulse gently and healing. However, when I looked down at my body, I saw that my shirt had been pulled back up and rebuttoned as if nothing happened between me and James. I was just missing my ribbon. Before I turned to get out of bed, though, I spotted my ribbon on the pillow beside the one I slept on. It was tied in a nice bow around a red rose. Oh, that was freshly bloomed with a small note attached to it. I gently slipped the note from the tie and opened it to read it.
I apologize for indulging myself as I did. I hope that you will not dislike me when you awaken.
I am not going to dislike you whatsoever, baby boy. I stared. This is what he does to me. I stared at the note. unbelieving what I read. Why would I dislike him? I let it happen and I enjoyed it. It was cute, though, to imagine him asking for forgiveness for something we both did and enjoyed. I brought the rose to my nose and gently inhaled its soft fragrance. I indulged myself too, James. I looked at the time out of curiosity. The large white numbers on my phone showed 5:31 p.m. Yikes! 4 hours of being knocked out and I still feel tired. It was Sunday, so I was allowed to sleep longer if I wanted to. The remainder of the night passed by surprisingly uneventful. The boys continued to train with each other, but were kind enough to stop and make me dinner. I was glad for it. Unsurprisingly, the food was perfect, but it felt a little empty without the boys to eat with me. They most likely had already eaten, but still, I felt lonely. I couldn't let it bother me. I ate and went back to my room and studied and slept. Surprisingly, I felt good going to bed that night. I felt like I could have a peaceful sleep after the previous rough nights I had. I felt good. I drifted to sleep and woke up almost flawlessly the next morning. No grogginess, no aches, perfectly energized and bright-eyed. Man, how long has it been since I got that much good sleep? I looked at my alarm clock. I woke up 10 minutes before my alarm. Well, hey, I must be lucky today. Karma owed me some luck. After all I had gone through in the merely of a handful of days, I deserved to get some good luck. Ecstatic for the day ahead, I turned off my alarm before they could ring and got dressed. However, my phone started to quickly buzz from an incoming text. Huh? Who's texting me this early?
Yo, Anderson! You're carpooling with us from now on. We're not letting you waste your money on a bus. Get ready and be at your gate at 7 stat.
I smiled. My friends were the best. I couldn't drive yet and I didn't have a car, so it was awesome that my friends would let me carpool. I checked the time, 6:30. Perfect! I can eat some breakfast before they come. I packed my bag and carried it downstairs toward the kitchen. As I entered the dining room, I saw a plate with eggs, toast, and bacon sitting on the table. A fresh, steaming cup of coffee sat next to the table with the sugar and creamer on the side. I walked to the table and couldn't believe what I was seeing. Who made this? And I spoke aloud. A small red note caught my attention. Have a good day. Yours. My heart skipped a beat as I finished. I could tell it was from one of the boys. Maybe it was from him? I smiled before putting the note in my bag, eating it up. The food was so delicious, I devoured every amazing bite. I looked to the time again. Time to go. I quickly rushed to the door, checking myself in the passing mirror. I wasn't wanting to impress anyone, but I still needed to look decent. Before I could reach the handle of the door, however, someone took my hand. Huh? James! I turned to see James, who was holding my hand back with concerned frown on his face.
My name.
Huh? Your name?
My true name isn't James, miss. I want you to know my real name if something were to happen.
His true name? What did he mean? Why was he telling me this now? I thought your name was James, my dude. James gently pulled me to him and leaned closer to whisper in my ear.
My name is Raystro.
Raystro! As he said his name, I could feel it lock into my memory. Something in my head would make sure I would never forget it. James pulled away and smiled at me, despite still carrying worry in his eyes.
If you are in any danger, call my name. I promise that I'll come and help you.
I stared up at James, unable to say anything. I could only nod in response. James smiled before kissing my hand and heading to the dining room. Something told me that that name would be used eventually. And right on cue, Naomi drove up to the gates with Suzu waving me down. I rushed out the door and we headed to school, talking about the homework in the coming day. We made it into the school without a hitch. Our lockers were in the same part of the hallway, so we quickly unloaded and we needed to get to our important books and necessities. First incident of the day. As I walked toward Suzu and Naomi, we were both waiting for me on the opposite side of the hallway. Something hooked my ankle and made me fall forward. Ow!
Hey, are you okay? Who did that?
The three of us looked back to see Lisette and her gaggle of girls. Lisette, you're about to get your shit pushed in! Lisette had a look of complete innocence while the girls around her giggled like no tomorrow.
Why, you little... Suzu, don't!
I felt a giant fire of anger burn in my stomach as I stared at Lisette. Today was not only the time this had happened to me, however, it was now clear who had behind the incident. Even if she was innocent and one of her goons did it, it was now obvious that Lisette was a mastermind from just looking at her face. She was no friend, nor would she ever be. I had to do something. Stand up and walk away and dealing with her shit? No. I wasn't going to bring myself to her level. She was a bully, but I was not going to let her get to me. I had to be stronger than her, and only then would I have beaten her. I stood up and brushed myself off, pretending nothing had happened.
Anderson, you okay? That was a pretty bad fall.
Yeah, I'm fine, and a fall like that is nothing. I merely smiled at them, not wanting to let them know that the pain rushing through my body from that fall. My arms were quaking, my shoulders were pulsing, but I remained content-faced. I quickly gathered up my belongings and nodded to my two friends. Come on, we'll be late for history. Suzu and Naomi looked at each other before frowning and nodding to me. Naomi and Suzu flanked me as we were beginning to walk to class away from the gaggle of bullies. As we walked, I could barely see Suzu flipping the middle finger to the group behind us from the corner of my eye.
Friggin' bunch of Lisette feet lickers. That's gross, Suzu. It's true. It's all OMG! Lisette is the best! Let's follow her around because we obviously don't have lives.
I fucking love Suzu. Naomi and I could not help but laugh. The group behind us, however, did not like Suzu's words.
At least my dad doesn't screw around in the black market to keep a stupid casino running.
Suzu stopped. Naomi and I stopped as well to look back at Suzu, who was completely red in anger. Suzu slowly turned ahead to the group, glaring daggers at them.
Fuck did you just say?
I had to act fast. I placed my hand on Suzu's shoulder, gripping tightly, knowing that she could try to push my hand away. Suzu, they're not worth it. Let's just go.
No, I think it's about time we taught them some manners. Suzu!
I looked at Lisette and her group. Lisette had a widely amused smile on her face, which irked me to no end. Nevertheless, I knew that fighting wasn't going to get us anywhere. Let's go. I grabbed Suzu by the shoulder roughly, pulling her back to Naomi and me. Suzu tried to step forward with the group, but Naomi held onto her other shoulder. We held on Suzu, who fought against our hands as we marched to class. Surprisingly, the rest of the school day went off without another incident. I went to my class, had lunch, and was anxious to get home. As the bell rang for school to end, I felt my phone vibrate in my pocket. Huh? A text? From Dad? I'll be picking you up today. Make sure you're ready to go when I get there. That's kind of a surprise. I quickly headed back to my locker and got my things before waiting for Naomi and Suzu.
Hey, are you ready to go?
Actually, my dad's picking me up.
Really? Okay, I guess that kind of makes sense. We'll drive home together next time. Tell your dad that we've got you covered from now on.
Yeah, alright. Even while I laughed, something didn't seem... Oh, shit. Didn't mean to do that. I waved goodbye to Naomi and Suzu before heading off to the usual spot where my dad picks me up. I took the time to listen to my music while I waited. I needed to go to another Rise of the Phoenix concert. Eventually, I had played the entire album with no one showing up. What the hey, Dad? What the hey? Dad's never late, especially not this late. I quickly dialed my dad's phone number again, but as soon as I pressed call, it disconnected and read a signal disconnection error message. What the? No signal error? How did I not have signal? I double-checked my phone and saw all 5 bars for signal. He must be in a dead zone. Before I could finish, a group of hands grabbed my hands, feet, and covered my mouth. I screamed into the hand over my mouth, struggling to pull away from the hands grabbing at my limbs. It felt disgusting and scary, and feeling their hands on me, I needed it to stop.
Hey! Don't dirty up Malix's prey.
Oh, shit! Oh, this isn't good! The voice, which sent a fearful shiver down my spine, whispered into my ear.
You're coming with me, Miss Anderson.
The fuck? I couldn't fathom what was happening, but before I knew it, I was blindfolded and my limbs were quickly tied up. I felt myself being carried somewhere and was shoved into something that echoed into the interior of a bus or a van. The doors closed off as I was taken, unsure of where I was going and why. All I knew is that I was in trouble. All I saw was darkness. I felt numb as I was taken to a place I didn't know of. I couldn't even move my lips to scream. Sounds zipped past my ear, first of the interior of a car, then the outside. Then an echoey space with whispers and cackles of people vibrating through it. However, the wrap around my eyes was eventually removed from my face, and my bonds were cut. It took a while for my eyes to adjust, but I found myself in a warehouse surrounded by devils, including Malix, who was smirking at me.
Nicely done! I'm sure those little shits will come running to find you when they realize you didn't return to your precious little mansion. They'll search everywhere for you.
I'm gonna kill you. Malix walked over and set the barrel of his gun against the skin between my eyes.
It'll be so funny when they find your dead body instead.
Yo! We're gonna call you, Restero! Restero! All of a sudden, a bright purple light engulfed the room, causing the devils around me to cover themselves.
What the?
Gust of wind rushed past me, almost forcing me back. I covered my face with my arms, bracing myself and standing my ground. I tried to peek through my arms to see what was going on, but the light continued to shine brightly. As the gust slowly started to die, the light began to fade, revealing James pointing a strange golden gun between Malix's head. James?
It's all right now. I'm here.
I love you! Malik stared wide-eyed behind him, unsure of what to do. He had no time to react in case James pulled the trigger. He was stuck, feeling the presence of James' golden gun that was ready to lodge a bullet into his skull.
Well, it seems like I finally have your cooperation, Malix. It took long enough.
You piece of demon shit! I could shoot you right now.
And what's stopping me from shooting you first? If you so much as flinch, I will pull this trigger and end you once and for all.
The remaining devils stared, trying to figure out what to do, help Malix or watch in silence. Iris, however, walked up beside me and crossed her arms as she watched with an amusement smirk on her face. Malix growled, obviously annoyed at the predicament he was in.
What is stopping you, pretty boy?
Just me wanting to do this.
With no hesitation, James quickly moved his gun and shot both of Malix's hands. The gun dropped from Alex's shot hand onto the ground as he knelt before over in pain, holding his hand to his chest.
You son of a bitch!
Before Malix could finish the sentence, James aimed the gun once again at Malix's head, causing the devil to stop talking once again.
I didn't say you could speak. Do you want me to shoot you in the throat?
Oh my god, I love him! Yes! I stared at James in shock. He was playing with Malix. He seemed to act like a cat poking a sharp claw at a wounded rat. I was warranted, but not what I expected of James at all.
No. I'm going to give you 3 seconds to get on your knees to beg for forgiveness. Or, the next bullet goes through your pathetic hellborn skull.
Malix hesitated, but eventually ended up on his knees. However, he settled onto the ground. Malix wrapped his arms around James's leg and dug his teeth into it. I gasped but remained still as I watched James aim and fire a shot into Malix's back. Malix released James' leg in shock, trembling at the newfound pain. However, for some reason, Malix didn't fall over and die. He remained still, staring ahead of himself in pure shock and pain. I could only watch in silence as James lifted his leg out of Malix's embrace and kicked Malix to his side.
Disobedient until the very end, huh?
The air instantly went from frantic to still in energy. What could have been described in a tone as the color red quickly turned into a deadly mix of purple and gold as everything began to blend together all at once. I stared at James, seemed to grow more menacing toward Malix. However, he quickly looked at me with a face of concern.
Please, forgive me for this.
I grew confused but wasn't allowed to think onto it as James looked back down at Malix once again. James's eye began to glow a bright gold as James lifted Malix by his collar and pulled him up and off the ground.
It's high time you discovered the true power of demons.
James's voice had changed, sending a large shiver down my spine. His appearance also started to change, but before I could see clearly what James was becoming, my eyes were covered. No, I want to see this!
Don't look.
I want to see this! I listened carefully and let the last 2 words linger in my head. Don't look. Why? What was being hidden from me? I wanted to know, but something told me to obey Damien's command. I could hear Malix struggling to get out of James's grasp and the rich, bright sound of magic being cast. I struggled with myself to obey Damien's words, walking my arm to the side to deny myself the chance to pull Damien's hand off from my face.
Let me go!
As you wish.
The sound of demonic screams and cries bellowed all of a sudden, causing me to tense up in Damien's hands. Malix began to scream in agony, straining as if he were being pulled somewhere against his will. Malix's voice began to trail out into an echoey whisper as the magic sound in the air consumed his cries. Soon enough, the cries and wisps of magic stopped, leaving the air as silent as it could be. However, Damien didn't remove his hands.
Jeez, James. Haven't seen you use that trick since the intruder in Demon Castle. But you're losing your touch. You even lost your glamour spell.
It couldn't have been helped.
Glamour spell? What do you mean? Why did James sound so different? Why was this being hidden from me?
It's a spell that makes us look human.
I froze. Look human? They didn't look like humans after all? What did they look like?
Like demons.
As if Matthew knew what Damien was talking about, Matthew spoke up, followed by the sound of a cork popping out of a bottle.
Well, not for much longer. Here.
Thank you, Matthew.
I could hear the small clicking of glass being passed before hearing James guzzle down a liquid of some sort. The stiff feel of the air around me gently began to warm back up, insinuating that everything had been returned to normal. Finally, Damien removed his hands from my eyes, allowing me to see around me once again. The devils, including Iris, had fled. Malix was nowhere to be found. The boys, however, had gathered around me, all of them including James, looking like nothing had happened. What just? I tried to speak, but everything zipped around in my head and the whole event, and I felt like speaking wasn't possible.
Let's just get you home, miss. There's nothing more to see here.
I could only nod. What had happened boggled my mind to the point of disbelief. I was second-guessing everything, lost in a sea of what and how and when. As we walked out of the warehouse, I looked at James for some form of sign, and I wasn't dreaming. James kept his eyes forward, unable to look at me. It was over. Alex had gone, and the boys were finally safe. A wave of relief ran through my body at the thought of never having to deal with that group again. And at the same time, a pang of realization hit the back of my mind. The boys were only going to stay until after Alex was defeated. That was our deal. As we approached home, I could feel something heavy weigh down my heart. It was late, but the boys led me inside and turned on the lights into the lobby.
Finally, we can relax.
It will be good to have some rest without devils breathing down our necks.
I'm just tired. Can I hit the hay early?
I think some sleep would be good for all of us.
I looked at Damien, knowing he could read my mind, and frowned. I didn't want him to know about my thoughts on the situation. Yeah, that sounds good. I wanted to just end tonight. Too much had happened, and I felt dizzy just trying to figure it out. However, Damien spoke up and stopped all of us from moving.
Should we be gone in the morning?
The air became still with tension. The realization of the situation hit the boys like a wave, forcing them to turn to me in curiosity. They had remembered their deal and were now awaiting me to decide their fate. I gulped, face to face with the reality of the situation. The boys were leaving it up to me. They looked like they were willing to accept whatever I had demanded. It was only fair, though, after all that had happened. I looked at James, feeling my heart flutter in my chest. I didn't want him to leave. But would he ask to stay? I hoped that he would say no and ask me to stay longer. As if he knew what I wanted, James moved and smiled at me, taking my hand and bringing it to his lips for a kiss. He moved it away, smiled at me, and spoke.
Miss, if I may be so forward. Despite the short time we've stayed here, I've thoroughly enjoyed my time here. That being said, would you allow us to stay here?
Heck yeah! My heart skipped while a large red blush ran across my cheeks. The boys stared at James wide-eyed, but didn't dare to speak out. James stepped back to give me space, returning to where he was. I moved my gaze across each boy, trying to make a decision. If they left in the morning, I would never see them again and my life would return to normal. If I did decide to let them go, they would have been for the best. No goodbyes, no delays. But did I want to? They had done so much for me in such a small amount of time. They stayin'! They stayin'! I wanted them to stay. I wanted him to stay. I merely smiled, staring at the man I had come to have feelings for before speaking at last. I would love it if you all could stay. The boys cheered tiredly and nonetheless ecstatically. I giggled at the sight, and it was cute to see everyone so excited, despite the tiredness that ran through equally through our bodies. Today was a rough day. My home is your home, as long as you can still help with chores. The boys nodded in unison, agreeing to their terms I had set for them. Despite the good situation, I felt myself slowly slipping into unconsciousness. However, James quickly clapped his hands together, getting everyone's attention and waking me up, making sure I did not pass out on the floor.
All right, everyone. We're all very tired, so let's head to bed, shall we?
Oh, yeah, sleep is actually a thing. Right.
We've had a very long day, but it will be good to just relax tonight and tomorrow.
Sleep sounds really good right now.
Yeah, man.
I watched a very happy small glow from James's lips. He was tired of an excitement, knowing that we would all be together no longer. Who knew how long we could stay together? All I cared about was that I could be with him. The others quickly left to finally rest, leaving me and James alone at last. Well, we're going to find out what James is going to plan to do next in the next episode. So I hope you guys enjoyed this part, and I hope you like and subscribe and do all that good stuff. And I hope to see you guys in the next episode. Bye!
Doing just fine before I met you. I drink too much and that's an issue, but I'm okay.